at an interest rate of 6.875%. Indeed, very competitive rates that we were able to achieve. Ladies and gentlemen, that cash is now deposited in our Kenyan accounts. The bonds are now also trading at a premium of 102% on the Irish Stock Exchange, signifying further investor confidence in our economy. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Kenyans, I want to assure you that the government will spend this money prudently. Proceeds of both transactions will be used for funding of infrastructure projects in energy, transport, and agriculture. This means that both private and public sector corporations have the ability to tap into the international capital markets to fund their business expansion at reasonable cost. By accessing these external funds, we will reduce government borrowing from the domestic markets, thereby helping drive down interest rates, which should boost investment, spur economic growth, and provide more employment opportunities to our people. Ladies and gentlemen, with our plan to access international capital markets, we will reduce our recourse to domestic borrowing. Consequently, the government will review downward domestic borrowing plans for the next financial year. This, together with other measures which we shall be implementing shortly, should result in a lower interest rate regime in Kenya. The raft of measures we are implementing include, but are not limited to, the following. 1, all banks will use a reference rate to be determined periodically by the Central Bank of Kenya as the basis for pricing credit. The components of the premium above the reference rate will have to be disclosed to borrowers by the banks. 2, we will promote full disclosure of bank charges to facilitate informed banking decisions by the public. This will entail introduction of an annual percentage rate for loans by the banking sector. 3, we have, as some of you are aware, began to modernize the lands and companies registries to facilitate quicker collateral process and establishment of a legal framework for the creation of an electronic movable assets register. We hope to conclude this before the end of the next financial year, starting next week. 4, we have issued and are operationalizing the revised Credit Reference Bureau regulations, providing for positive information sharing by banks and expanding information sharing to other credit providers. 5, we have submitted to Parliament the National Payment System regulations to fast-track our infrastructure, to fast-track sharing of infrastructure by the banking sector. 6, we are implementing the Treasury Mobile Direct system to enable retail investors directly participate in government securities market to enhance competition in the markets for deposits and government securities. 7, we have fast-tracked capital market reforms to make them more efficient and an attractive alternative source for long-term funds. 8, we have implemented legislative amendments to facilitate banks to utilize a simplified, standardized charge document and to simplify valuation process for multi-unit developments. 9, effective next financial year, we will implement the Treasury Single Account, which will improve cash management for better implementation and management of the budget. 10, I'm happy to note that on Monday, Kenya was upgraded from the dark gray list of the anti-money laundering regime. Yesterday also, I launched a cyber framework under the Communications Authority of Kenya, which will drastically reduce fraud in financial services. 11, both the national and county governments are exploring the availability of land for development of large, affordable housing projects by private developers. And 12, we will facilitate lines of credit for large housing development projects targeted at low-income buyers for owner occupation. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude by saying that the government is proud of this landmark development for Kenya, and we would like to thank all who contributed to the resounding success of the Eurobond. Special thanks go to the National Treasury, the Office of the Attorney General, and the Central Bank of Kenya for their relentless efforts to have this transaction succeed. I also want to thank members of the Committee on Interest Rates, led by the National Treasury, in coming up with workable solutions to address the long-standing problem of high interest rates in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, we are firmly focused on a path of economic growth that delivers development and progress for all our people, for all Kenyans. Ours is a determination to deliver inclusive growth that leaves no one behind. Our budget for the next financial year has firmly attended to concerns raised by Kenyans from all walks of life, especially with regard to the high cost of living. These interventions will address these concerns by Kenyans. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to pay special tribute to the following who have worked very hard over the last several months to ensure the success of this bond. Led by Henry Rotich, the Cabinet Secretary at the Treasury, Kamau Thuge, Joyfrey Mwao, Felista Kivisi, Nje Muturi, the Governor of the Central Bank, Jogona Ndungo, and his Deputy Harun Sirma, Gerald Nyaoma, who have all worked tirelessly to this success. Ladies and gentlemen, with those few remarks, I will now ask the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, to provide you with more information on the work that went into this very successful Eurobond transaction, and to also address you or address any questions that you may have on that transaction, as well as the economy in general. I thank you, and God bless you, and God bless Kenya. Thank you very much. Henry. Karibu. Yeah? Hapa. Unaendelea. Thank you.